And welcome once again to another JCF press briefing. My name is Dennis Brooks, and today we have several important highlights that we would like to share with the country relating to various aspects of national security. Addressing us today, we will have the Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson, and supporting the Commissioner today, we have to his left Deputy Commissioner Kevin Blake, who is in charge of Force Development and Logistics. We have DCP Richard Stewart to his left, in charge of Administration. And to the Commissioner's right, we have DCP Fitz Bailey, in charge of the Crime and Security Portfolio. Of course, after the Commissioner makes his presentation, we will take a few questions from our colleague journalists on the platform. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, Police Commissioner, Major General Anthony Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. So with just 2 months left in the year, we in the JCF know that we are embarking upon one of the busiest periods on our calendar. Traditionally, this is the period when we begin to intensify our operations and establish a strong presence in our town centers. However, due to several factors, we have had to begin that surge in operational activity much earlier. Let me just take this opportunity to thank the men and women of the JCF who have been out there on the road working longer hours and performing difficult tasks under Operation Relentless 2. We have seen some clear successes as a result of the current surge in activities. At the end of September, we launched Operation Relentless 2 along with our partners in the Jamaica Defense Force. The aim was to target criminal gangs and gangsters involved in violent crimes. As we explained at the time, it is an island-wide operation, although we had a specific targeted focus on 5 key divisions, which were seen as the source of the recent uptick in violent crime. In the 38 days since the launch of the operations, there has been a significant reduction in murders in all 5 of the focus divisions. In St. James, murder is 19% down. Westmoreland has seen a 50% reduction. St. Andrews South is down by 36%, and St. Catherine North is 50% down. St. Catherine South is down by 44% when compared with the 38 days prior to us starting this intervention. During this period, however, there has been a flare-up of conflicts in 3 divisions: St. Anne, Kingston Eastern, and Kingston Western. In Kingston Western particularly, it is largely a result of a gang conflict in the Lincoln Road, Orangevilla section of the division. However, this is an anomaly because when we examine the entire police area 4, which covers most of the corporate area, we have registered 100 fewer murders at this point in 2022 when compared with the corresponding period last year. Since the launch of the operation, we have also seized 91 firearms and more than 1,200 rounds of ammunition. So at this time, though, I'd like to turn attention to another matter that is particularly close to home. Recently, we lost one of our members who was killed by a gunman while on an operation. I have often made the point that when confronted by armed criminals, it is my desire for the police to win every single time and go home to their families. Unfortunately for us, Corporal Oliver Mullings wasn't able to go home to his family that night. And in the case of his family, the wounds of grief are still fresh. It was only in October of 2020 that the mother of his teen daughter, a sergeant stationed in St. Catherine South, left out for duty and perished in a traffic accident. Since the start of this year, 6 policemen have been killed in the course of their duties. This is the same figure as at this time last year, but additionally there have been 3 members who have been shot and seriously injured during confrontations with gunmen. Just this morning, a member of a traffic police officer in downtown Kingston who was attached to Central Police Station, was shot at. As a matter of fact, he was shot. He was engaged by two persons on a motorcycle. Thankfully, he managed to take evasive action, return fire, and has been treated at hospital. There are many who have a lot to say about police use of force. The problem is that none of these people are out there on the front lines being shot at. It is far easier to opine about these things from positions of safety. I'm reminding my men and women that they need to be aware of their surroundings on and off duty. Members are also being reminded that they have the full backing of the Police High Command in the lawful use of force, as is necessary to defend themselves, their colleagues and citizens against any attack. As a constabulary, we have sought to make the nation aware of the worrying trends associated with the pandemic of violence that has been impacting our country. We have a responsibility to investigate every single crime, but there are some that are particularly troubling. We believe they demand collective responsibility and action if we are to make a sustained change in behavior. In recent weeks, we've been dissecting the crime figures and looking more closely at both perpetrators and victims. When we examine children as the perpetrators of major crimes, some concerns begin to emerge. By definition, a child is a person below the age of 18 years, but bear in mind that most of the perpetrators in this category are between 15 and 17 years old. Let's examine the 4-year period 2019 to present. Overall, during that time period, children have been charged with 875 major crimes in Jamaica. There have been 79 murder charges, 66 for shooting. A total of 175 children have been charged for rape over the period. There have been 256 charges for breaches of the Firearm Act, 175 for break-ins, 89 cases of robbery, and 65 for aggravated assault. These individuals who, if we do not act collectively, are getting into an early career of violence and crime. We are bringing this to the nation's attention because, as a society, we have to decide how we are going to save them. As the police, we engage in various early intervention strategies through our Community Safety and Security Branch and programs like the Police Youth Club. As we have spoken of previously, we work closely with the Ministry of Education and the Safe Schools program. However, we all must take this matter more seriously. The pandemic of violence is infecting our children. They are not merely innocent victims of violence. In far too many instances, children and adolescents are actually the perpetrators themselves. It is important that all institutions of society be vigilant and engage in early surveillance and monitoring, whether in the home, school, or elsewhere, so that we can identify the early signs of violent tendencies before they become a law enforcement problem. Now, as we approach the end of another difficult year, we continue to assess the progress we have made in addressing the main driver of violent crime in Jamaica, that is organized crime and gangs. It's well known that a multi-pronged approach is needed to break the back of organized crime, and we have been making progress in different areas of the anti-gang fight. In partnership with the Financial Investigation Division, the Constabulary Financial Unit continues to target organized criminal enterprises where it hurts most, in their pockets. Since the start of this year, the FID and JCF has probed about 23 cases, seized just under 13 million Jamaican dollars, about 120,000 US dollars, just over 30,000 Canadian, and a little sterling, pound sterling. We have secured 3 significant forfeiture orders. They cover 20 pieces of real estate valued at over $600 million, a bank account with 19 million, and several $1 million worth of motor vehicles, including construction equipment and trucks. Now, this is done with the Financial Investigation Division, who we work closely with, and we actually have an MOU with them. We continue to also work with our international law enforcement partners. Since last year, the Jamaica Fugitive Apprehension Team has increased arrests for extradition. In 2021, there were 11 arrests and 10 extraditions, as compared with 18 arrests so far and 13 extraditions in 2022. There are currently 78 red notices in circulation for persons who are wanted and whose case files have been prepared and are ready for prosecution. There are 350 yellow notices in circulation that we have sent out, and these notices deal with missing persons, often minors, or to help identify persons who are unable to identify themselves. There are 55 green notices which focuses on the movements of violent influencers and gangsters for who there is inadequate information to charge them for their crimes at that particular time. Investigations are ongoing with local, international, and regional partners in identifying people involved in trafficking of firearms, people, and drugs. In terms of crime data, however, and the year-to-date analysis, at the end of October, overall major crimes are up by 3.5%. Murders are up by just under 8% this year. Shootings are down by 6%. Rape is down by 12%. Break-ins are up by 9%, and robberies up 20%. When we further break down the homicide data, it hasn't shifted that much. We see that 71% of all homicides are linked to gang conflicts, while 16% are attributed to interpersonal conflicts that have gone bad. Once again, 87% of everyone who has been murdered since the start of the year has either been involved in a gang, are associated with gangsters, or in a conflict with someone they probably know pretty well. A further 5% of homicides have been in furtherance of another crime, and 1%, roughly 1%, is a little under that, mob killings, and we have about 7% that we're always working on to properly attribute them. We continue to register increased numbers of persons reporting wanted men to the police tip lines as well as to Crime Stop. We believe this reflects the growing trust that has been fostered between us and our publics. As I conclude, I'd just like to reiterate that persons who may be the subject of police investigations, we urge you, if you are named as a person of interest, come forward and talk to us. If you are identified as wanted in connection with a crime, come forward with your attorney or justice of the peace. Tell your side of the story and have your day in court. If accosted by the police, do not engage us with any form of force. Do not shoot at the police. It is not our desire to use deadly force if we do not have to. However, we will use deadly force if an officer's life or a member of the public is threatened. You make that decision. And we continue to encourage everyone, people who are watching this or on the platform, if you see something, say something. Help us to keep your communities safe by reporting gangsters and gunmen. Call our police emergency at 119, the NIB tip line at 811, or Crime Stop at 311. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. At this time, we will go straight to the journalists on the platform. We have several of them. You can signal your desire to ask a question by using the raised hand feature. If there are questions in the chat, if you're having a problem with your microphone, we will take that as well there. Roxroy McLean from the Jamaica Star is the first person who is asking a question. Good afternoon, Roxroy. Go ahead, Roxroy. All right, Andre Williams from the Gleaner is on. Andre? Is this Andre? Okay, this is Roxroy. Sounds like there's two voices going on. Roxroy, you're on. Go ahead. All right, we're having a challenge there. Andre, your mic is open. Go ahead. Okay, his mic is closed.
Good afternoon. Are you hearing me?
Yes, Andre, go ahead.
Okay. My question is in relation to the incident this morning involving the traffic policeman. We'd like to know the police there was a hit, whether or not there was a hit on this man in particular?
We have nothing that establishes that that was the case. So I would not even begin to speculate that that was the case until we have further information that would indicate that. I had an opportunity. I went down to KPH and spoke to him myself to get a first-hand account of what happened. And based on what he indicated, what happened, there's no particular indication from the incident that that was what was happening. So unless we get some more information or intelligence that suggests that, I wouldn't go down that road at this point.
Thank you, Andre. Roxroy.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead, Roxroy.
Yes, my questions are to the Commissioner. Commissioner, realistically, what will the gun amnesty bring? Also, could you provide an outline of the guns found, the caliber of weapons, and the amount of money paid out thus far in the Cash for Guns campaign?
Roxroy, you continue to ask questions in relation to this particular topic that you should properly pose to the Ministry of National Security. And we have told you on numerous occasions that questions related to the gun amnesty should properly be posed elsewhere. I'm asking you another time to kindly do that. Ruby and Williams, Nationwide.
So there were. So the.
Go ahead, sir.
No, what was he would ask?
He asked, what good do you think the gun amnesty will bring?
Let me.
Sure.
So let me confine what I'm going to say. Roxroy, you're still there? Roxroy?
Well, he's here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Good. So yes. So there you'll find that any time there are some people who end up with firearms that they're not licensed to have in their possession because somebody died and left it in their safe. And there are a number of cases that I can't even go into all of the different types of it, but these are not criminal gunmen, but people who have firearms that they shouldn't have in their possession because they're not licensed to have them. And it gives them an opportunity, or people who found a gun and kept it just in case, all of that. This gives them an opportunity to turn it in. It also gives an opportunity for anybody who has a change of heart, who may have a gun, to turn it in. That's what it does. Because quite often people end up with a gun in their possession. They didn't remember it was in the safe. They've been holding it for somebody. The person has moved abroad, passed on, whatever it is. And they get more and more worried about how they're going to get rid of that gun from their possession. And so this gives an opportunity to do that. So it's a wider opportunity, but it's these cases that we have to think about also. At the end of the amnesty, there is no excuse.
Thank you. Ruby and Williams.
Good afternoon. Are you hearing me clearly?
Very. Go ahead.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. I have 3 questions.
You'll ask one.
Can we do them one at a time?
You'll ask one. Go ahead.
Okay. Is the JCF of the view, as it was last week, that Shane Patterson is still in Jamaica? This is the person of interest in the murder of Anika Johnson, and what's the latest you can tell us about that investigation?
Okay, we have nothing to indicate that he has left the country. I'll turn you over to Mr. Bailey if he has any updates.
The matter is actively being pursued. We are at a very delicate position at this time, but what I will say to the public, that we are actively pursuing the matter. In fact, I can say this publicly, that an attorney reached out to me and indicated that he will take him in on Thursday of this week.
Thank you very much. Jamila.
I mean,
Are you accepting another question?
There are several other people who have questions. We'll come back around. Jamila Maitland.
Hi, good afternoon to the commission team. I'm Jamaica from TBJ. I've already two questions. We saw where the principal indicated in the Clifton land scandal, she was not been sentenced to charges back up. And can you please state some of the charges that you and the current system for police officers?
Jamila, let's ask one question at a time.
Well, the matter is sub judice, so I'm not going to comment on it at this time.
Thank you. William Mitchell, go ahead.
Could the police commissioner Jones comment on the 8 particular traffic crash that we saw around Zulus?
Yes, I've seen a couple of videos around that. This is the accident, I presume, on Constant Spring Road this morning near Phil's Hardware. Am I correct?
Believe so.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, right. So I have probably seen the same videos you have seen, where the coaster bus seemed to have plowed into the back of one vehicle, pushing it into other vehicles. And the vehicle it plowed into seemed to have been a black pickup, and it had stopped. So interestingly enough, when I checked, I had them check on the driver of that coaster, there's 120 outstanding tickets. And this is a point that I have been making in this whole business of what happens on our roads. Until when the police issue these tickets, it matters, we will continue to have these people doing all kinds of things on the road. So they were looking forward to it. We had some discussions recently about when the new regulations of the Road Traffic Act comes into force, and the other challenges that there are in the system to get the proper consequences associated with breaches of the Traffic Act. The police can write tickets, and we write tickets as per what we are allowed to do, and when there is a warrant, we go for the person who does it. Now, there are lots of challenges, and this is something that we won't get to explore in great detail today, but I mean, I have a whole panel of journalists on. It's something you should be looking at. Now, the point of the matter is that he, like so many others who end up in these situations, are multiple offenders, multiple outstanding tickets. And once we deal with that, you will see order return to the roads.
Thank you.
To watch more, subscribe